Good afternoon. Welcome back. This is another follow-up on that color output profile we did together. I did with you based on these RGB target. Now, a question that we may have, a question that's very legitimate, is how good are the readings of this instrument? It's very nice. The instrument looks quite good, and looks like it was bumped or broken, and it passed calibration very well. So there are, we have a tendency to. I have a tendency to believe that it's trustable, that the numbers we got of the instruments were valid, but we are lucky because we also have another X-Rite instrument. This one is a 528, and this instrument is has a very good agreement with the DTP41. The only difference is this one has a UV filter, this one does not have a UV filter, but that should not be a problem because the paper I used for my printer doesn't have optical brighteners. So the readings should be pretty close. So let's see how I would go about capturing all these measurements with this device. So first of all, let me turn to the instrument, and the first thing we need to do, I'll go into setup over here. Hopefully you can see the screen a little bit. I don't want to go too close, but because I want you to miss what's coming up. What's coming up is this. We're going to be use this. You see it as a white reflection standard. These white reflection standards have a serial number and they correspond to the instrument. So if I was to check the serial number underneath here, I would find the serial number to match this. At the time that they're doing a new update calibration, X-Rite always supply the spectral measurements of this plaque along with when it sends the instrument back. So this is the proof that the calibration is valid. So what I'm going to do, I've turned to the calibration window, but I could do this off the instrument, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to hit the calibrate button over here. Maybe you're going to be reading it, or you're going to be seeing it. So now looks like it hasn't quite clicked calibrate, so I'm going to click the calibrate button. Now it's established communication with the instrument, and on the top of the instrument it says here measure white patch. So I'm going to depress the head so you can see what I'm doing. I'm depressing the head, and when I hold it steady down, this reading was not good because I let go too early. That's it. So when we get that beep, we know that the calibration is okay. So now we're going to switch into this software called Tool Crib. We're going to switch to the ability to capture instrument right into Microsoft Excel. I have Microsoft Excel running here in the background. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can see what's going on. Zoom please. There it is. Is it dynamic? Doesn't look like it's dynamic. Let me stop the video and restart it in a second. Okay, we're back. It's difficult to measure because there's not enough contrast here on this window. I could have do it differently, but I think it's okay now. So I'm going to go home, actually this button, and I'm going to open. And what I want to open is I want to open the file that's on my desktop. See, I have to select all files, and that embodies the measurements of the instrument, the DTP41. That's what I want to measure. So I'm going to click on the open button, and first what appears here is a first window in the series of dialog. It's a little wizard, and I'm going to just accept all the suggested parameters as is, and this is my file. So I'm going to just hide it here for a second so you can see that this is the content of the measurements. You see, all there is is a series of measurements that there's the RGB value, R, G, B, and then it's followed up here by XYZ, X, Y, Z, and then followed up by LAB, L, A, B. And there's 288 measurements, and they are coded according to the columns and the row. So if I go down this way, you're going to see that I'm going down up to 288. Hopefully the measurements are not too much out of focus. So okay, so now I have shown you this. Let me go to Excel, where I just finished importing the file. So what I want to do here, you see, this is in these three columns, there's LAB. This is the LAB that was returned from the DTP41, these three columns here. So what I want to do is redo the same thing, but with the 528 instead, you see? And then afterwards, I'll be able to compare the LAB numbers. So I'll, assuming that my 528 is in good shape, and I know it is because I paid arm and leg to have it recertified by X-Rite, which is $1,000 US. So this would be the first one. So the first one, I'm gonna now turn to this side so you can see what I'm doing. This is my chart. So should I zoom out a little bit? I think I should. Hopefully it's not gonna go out of focus. And maybe I should even do this from the right. So let me push this over to the left. You can still see the chart. Now there's two pieces, two parts. This is the second part, which I don't need to worry about now. This is the first part. It says 1 of 2. So as you notice, when I'm measuring, I'm being careful to measure on a white background. It doesn't have to be this particular white. If the paper is thick enough, it shouldn't make a difference whether it's measured on a background of this color green or on a background of white. But on the press paper, it makes a difference, especially when the paper is thin. So don't want to cheat too much. So I'm going to place the cursor over here on the very first patch, which is this one. And let's see over on the Excel side what happens. I'm moving my tripod around. It's a little awkward. Hopefully you can appreciate the difficulty because I don't have anybody to assist me here. So all I can do is do this myself. Okay, I might have to stop the video to be sure that the... Okay, now I'm pretty sure I have proper focus. So the color I'm measuring is this color over here, A1, which is the first column. And so it's the first column, first row. A is always the first row, and I'm going to start over here. Let's see if the measurements appear here in Excel. So let me try first this thing. Where's this thing? Okay, we got a number. You see, the cursor jumped to the next line. Problem is here, I didn't select color as measurement type. So let me redo this measurement. See the three numbers that appear, LAB. The numbers were transmitted to the instrument from the serial port in the back. Hope you can see this. Serial port. So this is the RS-232 connector. Just pretty much like this connector. RS-232 connector. And at the other end, it attaches to the back of the 528. See, it's an RG. The newer instruments use USB, yes, but this is not a new instrument, but it still works fine. So that's the first number that was captured. Now, do I still have proper focus? You know, I feel like stopping and starting just to be sure because I flipped the cover a little bit. Okay, I think it's okay. So now I'm gonna go to the second patch on that column. See, its measurement appears in the spreadsheet. Third patch. Fourth patch. Sixth patch. Seventh patch. Eighth patch. Now as a check, I continue. I have to make sure I'm measuring the expected color patch, otherwise I'm doing this for nothing. Transmission is not super fast, but it's going. So now you see over here, if you can see this, it says the 11th patch on the row, on the column, is value 255. Now 255 is the value that corresponds to the patch I'm about to read here on the instrument, which is the red patch. So that means that I'm in good shape. I can continue reading, and now I'll be reading the red patch. Red patch is full value of RGB. Now I made a mistake because I left the cursor where it was. So now I have to move back the cursor where it should go, redo the measurements. It takes patience to do color management, no question. Now here's the green patch. Hope you can see everything moving. It's moving very slowly. It's not normal how slow it moves. So there's something going on with my communication and my serial interface. But for this afternoon, for the purpose of this demonstration, that's plenty good. So I'm going to just continue a little bit, see if I can finish off the 3 rows. Now I should be on the second row. You see? B1. And that's where I am. So I'm going back over here. Let me zoom this here a little bit so you can better see the capture of the numbers. Now that's better. Okay, the numbers look sharp on my little crystal display at the end. So I'm not going to bother stopping the video. Just going to continue measuring down. Here's one number. Actually 3 numbers. LAB are always made of 3 numbers. This is the first one, L, how dark or how light the color is. The A and the B is the relative content of green and red, and the relative content on yellow and blue. Roughly speaking, but we're not supposed to say that's what they correspond to visually, because that's cheating. The theory is, that's not what the theory says. They're supposed to mean opponent pairs, period. Opponent antagonistic signal in the eyes. What their visual correlate is, it's not exactly green and red. The A, especially if we look at A-B diagram, we can see that it's not the red that's exactly opposed to the on the A axis. It's more the magenta, and it's not exactly the green. It's more like a aqua. So, oops, I went too fast. Let me go down one more. Over here now, I'm in the blue. How's the blue coming? Very good. One more. Okay, one more. You see how slow this is? Imagine having to read 1500 like that, or 3000 by hand, one by one. You know, this is not a cheap instrument. This cost, when first sold from X-Rite, it cost $7,000, and it's only capturing one color at a time. It's meant for capturing the press, yes. Okay, so I got this. Now I'm on to the yellow, and that will complete the second column. Okay, now let's see the magenta. Let's see the cyan, and we're going to go up to the white, and we're going to stop there, and white. And I shouldn't take more, but I know I always like to do more. What can I say? But I'm not going to do the whole 283 by hand because that's tedious. And from the numbers that we have, the sample that we have, we can make, I think, conclusions for all the colors. So let me just go further. You see, one of the pitfalls of measuring colors, there's always this question of when to measure it. Like when people get now with these Epson printers, the colors are practically dried, and the colors will not change by really not much once they're out of the printer because of the properties of the newer Epson inks. Oops, sorry. So this chart here, sorry, bless me, thank you. This chart has been collecting in contact with oxygen on my desk for a whole week. So the question could be, are these valid still? Is it still valid to make comparison to colors that were measured a week ago? And if I want to be really picky, what would I do? I would remeasure the chart with the DTP41 freshly. Then I know I would be comparing fresh number with fresh number from the two instruments. But that's not what I'm going to do, because I know that the colors won't change much over a week period as what they were when I measured them freshly out of the printer. This is something that you have to test for yourself. Don't take my word for it, but you will be surprised how remarkably stable the colors are once they're out of the machine. Okay, is something going on over here? Am I missing a few measurements? Now it is very hard to tell where I am. You see, I have something that says 47, 85. That's good. Let me try this number. The next one. That's good. Let me continue. I'm just gonna stop at this after this last row. There's two more. One more, and then another one. Okay. Oh, my instrument is really annoying. Okay, I'm gonna stop here the video, and I'm gonna save this file. Save as. I'm gonna dump it on my desktop, and I'm gonna save it as an Excel file. Excel single web page. It's kind of a okay. The Excel is here, workbook. Okay, that's what I'm doing. Excel workbook. I'm gonna leave them plus. I'm gonna put here plus 528. That way I don't mix up the files. So save. Now I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to change over to my other computer so you can follow what comes after next. Okay, now we're now back at my desk, my desktop PC, where I was meaning to do this whole exercise from, but my keyspan, serial adapter, and driver refuses to work with Mr. Windows recent software version. So this is the file that we are up against. See, another nice feature of Excel that we can use, tap into, is do some nice alignment. Over here I'm gonna type LA B, because these are LAB. I can even do a merge and center and write down here XRite 528. See that? And even make the background color of the cell nice, you know. And then here, let me copy this over, bring this here, let me change the text. It's supposed to read DTP 41 UV. Still XRite, but we don't need to write it, and we can change the color. So let's change the color and let's save this, well, wherever it was saved. We're just gonna save it back wherever it was saved. So we have not captured all that many colors. I only capture 64 colors. Is that enough? We'll see. So the idea now is to compare the numbers obtained over here with the numbers obtained over here. So we have three sets of numbers, LAB, and we have three sets of numbers, LAB. So what do? We're going to compare these numbers one by one. And we're going to obtain here what's called a color difference. It doesn't have to be in this column, it can be in this column. And I'm going to do something fancy. Can I do that? Probably not, no time. So I'm going to write here delta E. Now I'm using the old delta E formula, which is comparing the L with the L, the A and the A, and the B and the B, without any kind of weighting. It's whatever the value is. So let me start typing the formula. You see, once it's typed, it's really easy. So I'm going to put in bracket that I want to take this value L minus this value. I'm going to put this in bracket. I'm going to say plus. So this difference plus this difference minus this difference plus another left bracket, this number minus the number that's underneath here, which is N16. For now, you see, I'm going to leave the value the way I entered it. I don't have it completely, so now I'm going to edit the formula over here. Now I'm going to add another bracket at the beginning and another bracket at the end. That's the first thing I do. Hasn't changed the value. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add these caret symbol, because these caret symbol are power. They represent powers of some number, powers of 2. So if I want to raise the difference of I16 minus L16 square, this is how I do it. And once I have these symbols typed in, I work very hard to do that. I'm going to copy them, move over here after the bracket and paste them, Control V, and one more, Control V, and we're going to be doing one last one, but it's not going to be 2, we're going to be 0.5 because we want the square root of that. And now that's the delta E number. I'm going to reduce the number of decimal after the point because we don't care about 18 decimal after the point. So once I have now this delta E formula, I'm not stupid, I'm going to duplicate it by this technique, convenient Excel technique, which is by holding the little cross here and drag the formula, drag the cell down. So how far do I want to go? I'll stop here because I don't have any more number to compare. Now look at the differences I'm getting here. 0.96, 0.66, 0.84. That's not a big difference. 1, under 1, around 1, 1.3, 1.72. Oops, a little bit 2, but still not extreme. 1, 2, 3. So that means on the 255 on the red, there's a difference between the two instruments. Where is the difference? Between the two instruments 47 and 48, there's a small difference in lightness. There's a small difference also, but I think that's where the most of the difference is coming from. There's difference here in the A value. So the 528 sees the color as more red than the DTP41. 59, 60, not big, not all that big. We could do a delta L, delta A, and delta B, but for our purpose demonstration, it's plentiful. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 6. You know, the difference is not that bad. Over here, the yellow. What do we say? The yellow is 87 versus 89. So the 528 could be that the white sheet that I was putting underneath influenced the difference. You see that? 87 and 89, because the yellow sorry is very transparent ink, so it's influenced by the backing or the whiteness of the sheet underneath it. So it'd be worth redoing these measurements with a different kind of backing, just to be sure. A backing similar to what's under the DTP41. That's one hypothesis. So you see, these are high yellow contents, and they show a little higher color difference. 186, 284, and oh, 3. That's a big number. Again, what are we talking? We're talking 68, 70. There's a difference in lightness. The difference in A here is not that extreme, and the difference is B in the yellow is a little bit, yeah. So it contributing to the overall difference probably point to my hypothesis. So let's do one last one. Let's do what's called an average delta E. So I'm gonna here select under the sum here average, and that's it. So the average delta E between my 528 and this old DTP41 is only 164, because there are some differences that are smaller and some differences that are larger. Now if I had done this for the 288 patches, maybe I would have found the same kind of average. Maybe it would have been higher, maybe it would have been similar, I don't know. But based on these 64 colors, you know, I say it's the colors we're getting off the DTP41 is not that bad. Not that bad. Again, my 528 could be off, so you see, you kind of get the idea that every time, you know, we get into these measurements, we have to refine our techniques until we have no further doubts in our mind that what we're getting is what we should be getting. It's the best we could be getting. So it takes experience, takes practice, takes thinking, takes analysis, but I'm glad that what we got so far, 164, you know, that's not half bad. 164, so I could use I'll leave it like that for now. I think so. The colors we should be getting of the Epson profile made with the DTP41 measurements should be, you know, quite acceptable visually. That's the conclusion. Thank you very much for watching.